Everything looked organized. The binders were labeled, the paperwork was there. But when I walked in, I could already see the problem. Most childcare CEOs think they have systems. What they actually have is activity without structure. Hi, I'm Dr. Andrea Dickerson. I help childcare CEOs install real operating systems so their businesses can scale with structure and not stress. Because if it's not structured, it doesn't scale. Let's get into this. Hey, you guys, this is your coach, Dr. Andrea Dickerson here, founder of CEO Jumpstart Systems, where we connect childcare CEOs to proven management solutions. Before we go any further, let me say this clearly. What I'm breaking down in this video is exactly what I install inside of childcare programs. Not templates, not surface level fixes, real operating systems. That gives you the visibility, structure, and control that you need. This is what we go deep into inside of the Streamline Escape event, a private experience for childcare CEOs who are ready to scale without the chaos. If you're serious, the next step is below. Now, let's get back into today's video. And today's proven management solution is Storytime. Woo! All right, guys, I'm so excited. I am in a place of relaxation, and I wanted to just start my morning with the story time, something light and airy. So right now you're gonna hear the birds. I live in the country, so you're gonna hear like the trains and all of that good stuff, but I'm not holding back. Today's story time is called I Thought They Had a Staffing Problem Until I Walked in the Classroom. So you all know I service childcare CEOs on an execution level, and childcare owners bring me to their facilities to install a full operating system. And so I was on site, and I want to keep my client, secret, because everybody doesn't have a problem with me sharing, but this is just, a really good story, and I want to make sure I'm able to tell it and keep them secret. So I want to talk to everyone about what most CEOs believe. And the CEO invited me into her organization because she believes she had an issue, which is what everybody believes, is staffing. She believed that staffing was her biggest issue. She felt like the people weren't doing their job. She felt like they just really didn't know much about childcare anymore. They were just coming in with a different mindset, different heart, different skill set. She felt like the team just wasn't engaged. She felt like she could find better employees because everything would improve if she did. Well, let's go into my story, because when I walked into the rescue, that's why they called me, because there is a problem. So let's get that clear. There was a problem, and that's why they called me. But I work with CEOs who have more complex challenges than surface. So when I walked into the classroom, I began to observe. I observed workflow. I observed what was going on in the classroom. And what I noticed as I began to walk through the classroom and observe was that I wasn't just looking at personalities of the teachers. I wasn't just looking at what was happening with the children and the stuff on the shelves. I was looking for standards. I was checking to see if I could immediately see the story this classroom was telling me. I was looking at the shelving, how the items were placed on the shelf. I was looking at teacher engagement. I was looking at the setup. I was checking out the bulletin boards, the routines, the children's work. I was checking out how well the teacher owned the room. I was checking out if the children owned the room. The room revealed to me that there was far more issues in staffing, because if anybody can show up and work in an environment that is not organized, you got some good people. Every classroom typically reflects the standard that the leader protects. So if your site director doesn't know your standard, and you as the CEO haven't set the standard, there's going to be some issues. So then what I realized was they didn't need better employees first. because maybe they do once a system is implemented. But what they really needed was a site director who understood the system that they were in charge of protecting. And once the site director understood the system, and once the CEO understood how to take command of her system, things begin to change. But if you don't do the proper process of setting a standard, putting a gatekeeper over the standard, and you as the CEO keeping the command, that's when things go wrong. So let's dive deep into it, because many of you tell yourself that your organization has a staffing problem, but let's walk in your classrooms. Maybe your classroom has a deeper issue, a more complex issue, and it could be telling you something much bigger than staffing. So let's visualize with me for a moment. I walked into the room. I looked at the diaper changing area. There were names on the cubbies, but all of the different containers that hold the children items was different. You looked in one bin had the diapers, another bin had clothes, another bin had pencils, markers, just teacher throwing things in. And so there was really no way of handling the cubby system. So then I monitored the teacher. She was moving, not in the flow, but like across the room, all over the room. And we want teachers to move all over the room. But by the time she got to her teacher station, it had food, she had binders, she had kid stuff. I mean, it was just every area there was a cabinet. It was cluttered. And by the time she got to that station, she was just like putting stuff places and not really, having a bin for the toys that needed to be disinfected. Like, so when she was walking through the room, I didn't see her moving anything. She was just moving with no rhyme, rhythm, or routine. And the children was just, excited. So they were just going from center to center. Nobody was instructing them to put things back or follow a timer or have any certain transitions. So that lets me know like the classroom management system was missing. And then when I went into the rooms, I like to do more than one room because I'm looking for a scalable model. So once I exited out of that room, I went into the next room. And there was no continuity between the prior room. And so what I recognized was that, when you have rooms that's based on age group, the younger age group should prepare them for the next room. And then the intermediate room should prepare them for the preschool room. So there was no continuity, no growth. Neither one of the rooms was preparing the children for the next room. And so the same issues existed in the next room. No cubby system, no classroom routine, no shelving system, no circle time system, no management system, no transition systems. But this center is running with an admin, a site director, an assistant director, and a CEO. So it wasn't that she didn't have the structure. It was because there was no identified standard. And when your program doesn't have a standard, you lean into personality-driven classrooms, personality-driven management, personality-driven oversight. And when you have personality-driven oversight, you could create a 7-figure business. You can have a 7-figure company. But until it is organized, you won't be in command like you would like to as the CEO. So I arrived on scene, and while I'm on scene, I'm having to recreate a new way of thinking. And so to create a new way of thinking, I had to deal with teachers who said, but this is how we do it. Well, this is how I do it. I literally had to say no. Yes, I did have to raise my voice and literally do like this, like, stop it. Because I was contending with personalities who had been in control of their room, running it their way for so long until implementing an operating system seemed to disconnect. And I wouldn't even use the term disconnect. Like, I became a disruptor. I disrupted what this team had been doing for years. And honestly, most of the time, your room that you don't have to go into, that you don't have to second guess, that you feel like, oh, they got it, and most of your trouble signs is showing up in an infant room or a toddler room, so your preschool room teachers pretty much have things under control. Trust me, it's that room the most that's going to give you the biggest challenge in the end. It's the rooms that you feel like you don't have to go into that are personality driven, and they are so strong in how they run your classrooms that you feel like, oh, I don't have to worry about this room. I don't have to really take a look at this room. But trust me, those are the rooms where systems are skipped because they are so good with keeping their children moving forward that you don't even know when they're not following your system. So anyway, I'm in this room and I'm dealing with mindsets. I'm dealing with people just frustrated. They got to change now. They got to clean out. But I capture all of this. And the reason why you should capture before you change, capture the moment, capture the environment, capture what it's looking like. So as you take command, you're leading your site director to review, this is what it should not be. And then you also going to capture the correction, and then you're leading your site director to know this is what it should be. So if CEOs haven't created the system, that's your role, that's your job. Site directors don't create your systems. They hold the standard, they protect the standard. So as a CEO, your role right now is create the standard. As you create the standard, the site director role is to protect the standard. Now, there are some things that I had to teach the CEO to do in order to protect the standard. The first step she had to do was to require closeout. Once she started requiring a closeout from the team, the closeout wasn't just a call or a verbal communication. No, the closeout included her missing piece, verification. Then once she started getting the verification, the end of the day report was possible to get done, and the site director became more accountable for the environment, the people, protecting the system, because there was a closeout, verification in the end of the day. So in this story time, just note that we can deal with surface as much as you want. We could deal with hiring, we could deal with they don't know what they're doing, we could deal with these teachers don't want to work, we could deal with I can't find good help. We could deal with all of these surface, but complexity, when you're ready to really deal with the complexity of delegating an operation to someone, that's where I come in. So I'm excited that I had a chance to help the location completely recover. And it's been several weeks. They are maintaining the classroom, maintaining the system, maintaining command, maintaining their lanes. And that is when you know that an operating system has been installed, when every day is about maintaining the system, protecting the system. You cannot have a day where you say to yourself, I'll check it at the end of the week. Why are you checking a daily operation at the end of the week? So for all of that misaligned advice, that's incorrect. You want to make sure that you have daily accountability from your team, and God knows you as the CEO want to make sure that you give your team what they need, which is daily CEO leadership. Now, there will come a time where the daily won't be in your lane, because over time you'll hire people who run the daily. But until then, it's in your lane, and you got to make sure that you secure your system. Protect your standard at all costs. And I want to help you do so. So be sure to click the link below, because every month I'm hosting something like a CEO growth session to help you understand how to put these type of systems in place, this operating system in place. So you can become a part of what we're doing by clicking the link in the description box or heading over to www.workwithcoachandrea.com and book your free discovery call. Let's deal with the root to why your classrooms feel so unorganized and unsupported. All right, guys, as always, remember, if you manage the childcare business that you love, you will love the childcare business that you manage. Bye, you guys.